We are live here on Labor Day weekend. Turn off the air conditioner. Lots of stuff to get to today. I'm here currently watching from North Carolina. We're from Bangor, Maine. Sweet, Keith. Welcome. There's a lot to get to today. So I released a podcast episode earlier this morning, that talked about the truth and lies about frame failure and frame flex. And the reason why I did that episode was because twofold. Number one, I'm noticing an uptick in content from Armageddon YouTubers and Sunshine and Rainbow YouTubers that are giving extreme views on the frame failure and frame flex situation. Okay. And one of those examples doesn't come from a big YouTuber, comes from like a medium-sized YouTuber, obviously bigger than me, but that person decided to come out and say that every single frame that has ever been built by Lippert will fail. Okay. No context, no nothing. Very clickbaitish title, very clickbaitish thumbnail. Stuff I'm learning to do, because to get more clicks, you got to have interesting titles and thumbnails. But I try not to go to that extreme. There's also a very large content creator in the RV space that has told, in reaction to that video, in reaction to that content, that there's no evidence of it and there's no evidence that frame failure is real. Okay, so we have two extremes going on with the frame flex and frame failure debate. And it's not really a debate. The debate isn't about whether it exists or not. The debate is how big is the problem? Now, what I'm going to talk about today on this live stream is a segue into that, which is, I've noticed manufacturers, not the big corporate umbrella guys, but the guys below them, have began to walk away from Lippert for frames. Give you an example. I don't know if you guys noticed, but on Friday, I released a new walkthrough video of a 2025 Keystone Bullet. If you go to the 2024 Keystone Bullets, they're all on Lippert frames. You go to all the 2025 Bullets, they are now on BAL frames. I also, next week, this coming week, I'm releasing 4 more walkthrough videos, all different brands, including Forest River Saber, which Forest River Saber is not on a Lippert chassis. I'm turning on AC again. They are on an NXG chassis, an NXG frame, which is something that my old employer, which was Clipper and Viking, was using, which is which that particular frame was huck bolted. I don't know if this is huck bolted or not yet. Okay. Yes, Alliance would be a very good RV to buy. I trust those guys because I've known them a long time. Not known them personally, but I've sold their products when they were at Heartland. And when they were in charge of Heartland, when the Colby boys were all part of Heartland, Heartland was the best built fifth wheel in the industry. There's nothing that compares. It was ugly as hell on the inside. And the interior design was garbage. But the construction of it was solid. And when they do have problems, they solve them, or at least attempt to solve them. So Alliance would be a very good product. If you want something to look at that's in that price range, fifth wheel wise, you can look at Forest River Saber, Keystone Cougar. I would just stay away from Keystone, Montana high country right now because they've had a high rate of people accusing them of frame failure on their fifth wheel. Not the regular Montana, the Montana high country. So yeah, I would say that's good. They are, but Rockwood and Flagstaff don't have any history of frame failure. I wouldn't even worry about that. See, here's the thing, guys. Lippert is not the problem. Okay? The reason why these brands are going away from Lippert is because couple fold. Number one, creators like me, not just me, but creators like me are pushing to have the RV industry parts side of it demonopolized. And the second part is they're trying to separate themselves. Keystone Bullet, Forest River Saber, which are just two of the metrics, two of the examples, are trying to do something different than their competition. It's not about the frame. It's not about frame quality. It's not about the steel. It's not about that. The switch from Lippert to BAL and NXG, respectively, is to give them something different than what other people have. Yeah. Hey, thank you so much for the subscription. I appreciate it. So Lippert, yes, I'm giving, if you go listen to my podcast channel, I talk about this extensively, and I'll give you the short clip of it. I do give Lippert part of the problem. I give Jason Lippert, CEO of Lippert Industries, about 10% of the problem. And the 10% is not acknowledging that there is a problem, not acknowledging that there is a big issue. And I've talked to folks at Lippert about it off the record. I'm not going to tell you who or anything like that, but I've talked to them off the record. And off the record, we've had a very candid conversation that, this is a couple months ago, that the problem isn't with Lippert itself. It's the perception that because Grand Design RV is having all these allegations of bad customer service and the frame falling apart, it's now coming down on Lippert and anybody that uses a Lippert product. And the situation I always try to tell people is be proactive instead of reactive. Now Lippert themselves have lost customers to their frames. Now it ain't gonna hurt, it'll hurt their bottom line a little bit. It's not gonna hurt their pocketbook where they're gonna go out of business or anything like that, but it'll hurt their market share because now you're gonna allow 2 or 3 more frame companies to grow. Now that needs to happen anyway, okay? Period, end of report, that has to happen. The RV industry can't be dependent on one supplier of parts. It can't. And I would say if I had a candid conversation, and I said if I had a candid conversation with Jason Lippert, he'd probably agree with me that you can't just do everything like that. Okay. So part of the problem that we're going to see is, thank you so much, Kevin, appreciate you. Part of the problem that we're going to run into over the next, let's call it 6-7 years, is the situation with YouTube and content creation is causing a lot of misinformation. And again, I talked about this more in depth on the podcast episode if you want to check it out later. You have two sides, and the bad part is there's so much money at stake on both sides of this one issue. Okay? You got YouTubers on what I call the Armageddon side that have thumbnails that say every RV is garbage. You have titles from these people, don't ever buy an RV, they're pieces of crap. While that probably gets a lot of clicks and makes a lot of ad revenue for those specific RVers, and if they're not monetized yet, if they're trying to get to monetization, it probably gives them a lot of watch time and a lot of subscribers, because people are always going to hate RVs, anything that has to do with RVs, especially if they've had a bad experience. And these Armageddon level YouTubers are just feeding on that. That's number one. On the other side, you have these corporate RV dealership YouTubers, and I'll name one, okay? And if he's watching, it's not to make you mad or get you upset or get your panties in a twist, okay? But Josh the RV nerd is in probably the worst position of all of us, because he is actually the biggest of us. Now, subscriber-wise, JD from Big Truck Big RV is has the largest subscriber account, but he's not he's in a different category of what we do. He does do walkthrough videos, but in a different category. So imagine that Josh goes from Haylett RV to now being part of a big corporation like Bish's RV. Bish's RV has to regulate and control the flow of information and content out of his channel. Okay? I wouldn't presume Lippert is just building what someone asked. Most contract builders will either refuse an... Okay, Lil Fan Death, that the RV industry is not logical. You are talking about logic in constructing a building, in constructing a structure. The RV industry is not logical like that. Okay? Here's how it goes with Lippert. And by the way, you can confirm this with Lippert. Okay? You can get on the phone with them and confirm it. Everybody's frame is built differently. So Forest River, Grand Design, Winnebago, anybody that orders a Lippert frame, a BAL frame, an NXG frame, it is custom made for that particular floor plan, that particular brand, according to their specs. Okay? Once Lippert has created that frame, they then ship it to the manufacturer, or the manufacturer picks it up. After that, whatever gets put on the RV is up to the manufacturer. So the problem is Grand Design is blaming Lippert. Lippert's kind of not blaming anybody. They're just kind of okay, let's hope this sweeps under the rug. Because the reality is they can't control the manufacturers and what they do with that frame. All they do is they build it to the specification of every brand and every manufacturer. Travel trailer. So a Wildwood travel trailer by Forest River will be different than a Heartland Mallard. A Coleman 17B, which is a Camping World only travel trailer brand, will be built differently than a Coachman Catalina. They'll both be on if you actually take apart the box, every one of them has a different frame. So it's not like the old days, from what I'm understanding, the old days, it was one frame and you just built around it. And these were the specs. Nowadays, with technology, with the access to technology, now for the last, 25 years, 30 years, every frame is built differently. So Riverstone uses a Lippert frame. Mobile Suites uses a Lippert frame. And yet their frame failure, frame flex rate is almost nothing. Yet Grand Design Solitude, Grand Design Momentum have the most allegations of any brand built. and it's by a wide margin. So obviously, logically, it's at the manufacturer level of the actual box, what's being put on the frame, what's being attached to the frame. That's the process that was broken, and probably from the information I'm receiving, from the accusations I'm receiving, probably still hasn't been solved yet at that factory. Yeah, you know, the pursuit of, I get hate every day. Josh the RV nerd gets hate every day. Matt's RV reviews gets hate every day. Even JD from Big Truck Big RV gets hate every day. Now, I bring it upon myself because I decide to actually talk about the issues, so I don't avoid them, I talk about them. JD has gotten hate for talking about them. You can read the comments. I mean, it's ridiculous that people would slaughter him over some things. Now, I gave him crap for a while, especially about the Lippert interview, but that's because of certain things, and you can ask him. We've kind of squadooshed that a little bit, okay? But if you look, there's growth for everybody, right? Okay. Getting back to Josh the RV nerd. So Josh the RV nerd now works for a large corporation. He now is censored on what information he can and cannot give by a group of lawyers, by a group of human resources, media relations people, things of that nature. He has become the spokesperson and face for Bish's RV. And anytime you do that, you now have, I call it the puppet strings. So let's say that deep down, Josh doesn't believe the BS that he speaks when it comes to frame failure or frame flex. And I'm pretty sure deep down, knowing because he's a good guy, knowing because he's a really good human being, and knowing because he's an all-around good guy, he probably doesn't believe the own crap that comes out of his mouth sometimes when it comes to this subject. But that's the information he is told to feed you. And that is a problem. Okay? And it's not him that's the problem. He's not even close to the problem at all. The problem is the misinformation or the misdirection of information. And this isn't something that's exclusive to the RV industry. This is part of a problem in our world. So that's the problem. See, and this is where it gets into the words free speech, okay? So I don't believe in censorship or anything of that nature. I do believe in checks and balances. I do believe in fact checking. And when I'm wrong, I apologize. I raise my hand and say, hey, you know what? I was wrong. I thought interest rates were going up in July. I was wrong. I'll be the first one to say I was wrong. All the signals I had, all the information I had gathered, all the research I had done, I was full of crap. Well, again, that's your opinion, Law Dog. I don't know. I won't know. I don't know very much about. I used to work for Camping World, the Camping World in Vacaville, California. It's actually a really well-run shop. The guy who's actually the GM there is a stud and a really good guy. His name's Eddie. At least I think he's still there. He should be. But yeah, it's like every single place is running. Here, just throw this before we get back into it. Each of the corporate dealerships are ran individually. Okay. So if you have a good general manager and you have a good sales manager and you have a good service manager all at one location, like a lot of Camping Worlds do, like a lot of Bish's RVs do, like a lot of General RVs and Funtown RVs and Blue Compasses, when you have a good team at a specific location, then that location runs really well and has a lot of happy customers. That's the reason why there's such a mixed bag in that, right? There's a mixed bag. If it's poorly run, then there's a bunch of one-star reviews. Everybody comes online and gripes and yells and screams about how bad Camping World is, how bad Bish's is. But that's not every location. Okay. Hi, Theo. How you doing? Yeah, locations all vary. Yeah. It's just all, you never know. It's who it is. So getting back to this, So when you have folks like Wingman, if you guys don't know who Wingman is, he's got a little podcast that's pretty good sometimes. But there's times where he brings guests on that have a self-interest in bashing camping world, or bashing a product, or bashing a process, or telling everybody don't buy an RV, don't sell an RV, don't do this, don't do that. When things are said like that, this is misinformation a lot of times. It's not 100% the truth. So this is the reason why I use Josh the RV nerd as an example in this, and Wingman as an example of this, is they're on two separate sides of the RV equation. Wingman tends to lean towards the Armageddon side of things. Okay? Sky's falling, everything's crap, everything's garbage. He leans more towards that. Not all the time, but that's where his content kind of leans towards. Josh the RV nerd leans more towards the sunshine and rainbows. Nothing's wrong, everything's great, everything's hunky-dory, the sun is out, the flowers are blooming, everything's perfect. It's all utopia, right? So, yeah, exactly. So that's the problem, is there's just not enough people in the middle, because money's a big thing. So I'll give you a great example. This is a couple years ago. I sold a motorhome to a lovely family. And every time before I started this YouTube thing, I'd always ask for a Google review or a Yelp review if you had a good experience. Okay? And every time I would call them or talk to them, oh yeah, everything's great, we're having a great time, we're so happy. They never left a 5-star review. They never even left me a 4-star review. They didn't leave any review. And by the way, I've sold them 3 rigs. And I've sold their mom and dad rigs. When people are happy and excited, they don't tend, people are different. There are people who will go on and give 5-star reviews, but the super majority of people tend to not give reviews when they're happy. They tend to give reviews when they're pissed off, unless there's money involved. So I remember there was a dealership in the Midwest. Won't tell you who it is because that's not fair. And what they would do is they would give people a $100 Walmart gift card if they left a review. It didn't matter if it was a 1-star, 2-star, 3, 4, 5. If they left a review on Google, Yelp, Facebook, and I don't remember what the 4th one was, but if they left a review on all 4, no matter what it was, 5-star, 4-star, whatever it was, they got a $100 Walmart gift card inside the finance office before they signed paperwork, after they did their walkthrough. So there's a dealership out there that has over 25,000 reviews. How often does that happen? Very rare. They almost were 80% closing ratio. Now, their Yelp review, their Yelp page has like 3.5 or 4 stars. Their Google has 4 stars. So obviously the majority of people were happy, but they had to be incentivized financially to give a review. Okay. There's a lot of stuff out there that, and this is, I know people are mad at Greg Carson, okay? And I understand why they're mad at Greg Carson. But Greg Carson, when he first started, did not have the intention of being monetized. His first intention was to get out information. Okay, and I believe it's still that way, even till today. But again, now there's more incentive for him to keep going, because now there's a monetization. Now, I know that gentleman more than likely doesn't need the money, so he'll probably donate the money. Okay, but there begins this problem of a financial incentive to give out misinformation. Politics, company earnings, company propaganda, all this stuff is all edited down and ready and willing and put out there for you, and we don't know if it's misinformation or not. We don't know if it's 100% the truth, because it's all about money, it's all about dollars. Hey, Mr. Ed Snowden, no problem. I got you. All right, let's go here. They shouldn't build it if it's unsound. The reputation is going to get killed as well. Will G, I partially agree with you. But if you're ordering a frame and it's customized per floor plan because of where you put the tanks, where you put the electrical, things of that nature, okay? Once that frame goes out of your factory, whatever they do with it, you have no control, okay? So I agree with you, Will G, but there's another side to that coin. So you just have to realize there's two sides to that discussion. While I agree with you, it's not the reality. Yeah, I'm in a car chilling, Carpenter. I do this either in an RV, in a car, at a park, whatever, wherever I'm at. I always do a live at 6 o'clock Pacific time. There you go, Caps. No, I get you, Kevin. I got you about that. And that's on the manufacturer. That's not on the frame company. Yeah, exactly. Greg does donate the money. I just don't remember where he donates it to. I'm reading the chat, Carpenter. It just takes me some time. What towable brand do you think has the relatively best quality? Well, if you're talking about a travel trailer and it's not named Airstream or Lance, I would probably go, it's probably a tie between 4 brands, okay? And I'm gonna separate it. I'm gonna go stick and tin, which is metal sided, and I'm gonna go fiberglass, okay? So fiberglass, which is your smooth sided, I'd probably say your top 4 is Rockwood / Flagstaff by Forest River. They're both the same product. Keystone Cougar, Coachman Freedom Express, which is a very underrated trailer that hardly anybody carries anymore because it doesn't have that brand name. But Freedom Express is absolutely really well built. I used to sell them. And number 4 is Outdoors RV. Anything by Outdoors RV. Those are probably your top 4 brands. They're also very expensive, okay? Your top 4 stick and tin brands, which is your metal-sided, your aluminum-sided travel trailers. If I have to do it off the top of my head, number 1 would probably be probably Coachman, Clipper, and Viking travel trailers. I did work for them, and once I saw the frame and saw the sidewall construction, they don't have the problem with Clipper and Viking, and I'm hoping it changes now they changed general managers, and I'm pretty sure they will because I know the sales manager. He's a pretty smart guy. His name's Red. They don't have the aesthetics or the all the bells and whistles, but the foundation and the frame's really good. Number 2, I'd probably have to go to probably Grand Design Transcend. It's probably their best product. I mean, I know we talk about a lot of the garbage that comes out of the fifth wheels allegedly and all the allegations against their fifth wheels, but they do build a really good stick and tin travel trailer. Number 3, I probably have to go Forest River Salem / Wildwood / Evo. Now those are, I'm not talking about the stuff built out of Indiana. I'm talking about the stuff that's built out of California, okay? Number 4 is hard, but I got to go Coachman Catalina. They hold together pretty good. Again, stick and tin's very hard to talk about because it's kind of like all the metal is really the same. All of hers okay, but just you're asking about my top 4 brands, right? So yeah, I mean, Rockwood Flagstaff's a really good product. Their sales manager just retired. Yeah, so yeah, so Alliance Delta is a good product. Remember this, Omaha, I didn't sell Alliance, okay? Alliance, I'm more familiar with their fifth wheels, okay? The Valor and the Paradigm. I'm more familiar with those because I've been able to film those. I've been absolutely been able to walk through them. And thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Check It. Really appreciate it. To me, and again, I know the guys, so Delta I haven't dealt with. Would I take a chance on Delta? Absolutely. The guys, the company's good. Bill Martin's a good guy. Coley Brady's a really good guy. I haven't met the rest of the family. I only met Coley and I met Bill Martin once a while back ago. But they're a good group of guys. So I would say that's a pretty good chance. But if you want to talk fifth wheel, top 4 fifth wheels, I got it with it that are not toy haulers, just fifth wheel. I got to go. No, Work and Play's a toy hauler though. I haven't gotten into toy haulers yet. Work and Play I know is a toy hauler. If you want me to do pull behind toy haulers, number 4 on the list would be Sandstorm / Shockwave / Stealth, which are all the same product. Number 2, and we're talking about pull behind. We're not talking about fifth wheel. Pull behind, I'd probably give Work and Play number 2 or number 3 on the list. Number 4, and this is pull behind, okay? I would probably go Octane by Jayco. It's not something I've personally sold, but I've worked on them, and they're really good rigs. Number 1 is anything built by Genesis Supreme RV. Now the hard part is they're only a West Coast brand, basically west of the Mississippi River. Like it's very hard to find them when you get east of the Rockies. Genesis Supreme RV is absolutely good. No, I know your Hyperlight's doing great. I love it. Yeah, go for it, Omaha. I go for it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going for a Delta. Nothing wrong with it. If you want to talk about top 4 fifth wheel toy haulers, I'd probably go number 4. I'd go Keystone Fusion. Number 3, and I know they stopped building it, so it sucks they stopped building it, and I know that I have 3 people on the podcast that have told me they have problems with them, but 3 out of the 15 or 20,000 that have been built that I know of that people are happy. I go Jayco Seismic number 3, or number 2. I would go Genesis Supreme RV. Anything built by them is amazing. And number 1, I'd go Riverstone fifth wheel toy haulers. They're actually really, really good. You said top 4. Okay, Wolfpack's a good product. I would put Rogue Armored above Wolfpack. Rogue Armored is between 4 and 5 for me. Some days I'm like it's better than Fusion. Some days I'm like, it's not as good as Fusion. So I always go back and forth. But Wolfpack is a good product. The only downside I have with Wolfpack, the only argument and debate I have with Wolfpack is they use a hung wall, or at least they used to. I don't know if they changed it for 2025, but they have a wood structure with fiberglass over it. That's my only complaint. Rogue Armored is built in the same factory and it's aluminum framed. So that's my only real argument. Outside of that, Wolfpack XLR, Stealth, Sandstorm, Shockwave fifth wheel toy haulers, Raptor by Keystone. They're all kind of like that affordable everyman's toy hauler. The Valor is an everyman's toy hauler. You know, I mean, there's a difference. Like when you're talking about top 4 for me, you're talking about most of the time I'm going to name the more expensive stuff, because the more expensive stuff generally is built better. Not all the time, but for the most part it is. Top 4 fifth wheels, I would say number 4 on the list is Paradigm. Man, have I walked through a lot of those. I know that people have had problems with the showers in one of the floor plans. And I know 2 people that reached out to me and told me they had frame problems, but Alliance ended up solving it and it held together. But I got to give Paradigm number 4. Number 3, I got to go Riverstone by Forest River. Number 2, I got to go Mobile Suites by DRV. And number 1 has been number 1 in my book for, God, so many years, is Redwood. Redwood's just a class of its own. It's really good. I do like slides on trailers. Slide outs on trailers are really good. There's maintenance to them. You got to make sure you lube them. You got to make sure when you put them in and out, you have full battery power. You want to make sure you're as level as you can be. You don't have to be perfectly level, but you can't like be cockeyed, you know, when you put them out. That puts them out of calibration. You know, you want to use a surge protector when you're at campgrounds. You know, rack and pinion's good. The hydraulic slide system's good. The Schwintek system, now they went to a double rail, is really good. I don't have a problem with slide outs anymore like I used to. Now you go back to 1997, 98, 99, 2000, 2001. You're getting into some kind of like, I don't know if I really want a travel trailer to slide like that. So yeah. Now, the one thing about cable slides are fine as long as they're done correctly. The old clay cable slides that Weekend Warrior used to use, and Fleetwood Gearbox and Fleetwood Terry, yeah, those are terrible. Okay, but cable-driven slides are not bad as long as they're done right. Okay, everybody has their personal preference and personal opinions, guys. Don't get it twisted. Everybody's got a different style and different thought process behind it. So, you're not wrong. You know what I mean? You're not wrong. Okay. One of the things I really wanted to bring up while we're waiting for some of the things is I got a lot of emails. And remember, guys, you can always feel free to email me. By the way, you know, if you haven't already, check out the merchandise store. I got a little merchandise store that has hats and shirts and stuff if you want to kind of represent the channel, represent the podcast. You know, check that out if you'd like. Everything that I earn goes straight back into the channel. Like, for example, all the money I've made over the last 2 months is going to my plane ticket to Tampa Bay to be at the Tampa Bay RV show. And it's also going to the gas money for me to drive up to Portland and do the Portland RV show November 7th and 8th. Didn't make enough money yet to do Hershey, but I'm pretty sure I'll be at Hershey next year. Speaking of Hershey, Pennsylvania, the Hershey RV show is going to be a big indicator of what life's going to be like for the next couple months. It would be a really big mistake. I want people to hear me out on this. If you wait to buy an RV and you're waiting for Jerome Powell to drop interest rates, that is a huge mistake. I'm actually doing a podcast episode on this tomorrow on the podcast channel, not on this main channel, on the podcast channel. It would be the biggest mistake you'll ever make, because the first thing that you'll notice is, let's say Jerome Powell drops interest rates 2%. An emergency thing. Like, it's an emergency thing. We're going to drop it 2%, like a lot of pundits say it's going to happen. Okay. Or predict will happen. Within 24 hours of the Fed announcing that, dealerships across the United States will instantly raise their prices. They'll raise their profit margin. So for everybody that's waiting, because you think that it's all you're gonna get these awesome prices that are out there right now and a low interest rate, it doesn't work that way. The reason why the profit margins right now, in this moment today, are less than 4% is because interest rates are high. The minute that the interest rates go down, the dealers are going to raise their profit margin because now the payments become more. They do. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it will. Well, here's the thing. It's a wash if you wait, but if you buy something now, if you buy something here in September, buy something in October before rates go down, you can always refinance the loan and save money. So that's how people save. So I don't know if I told you this story, guys. So let me give you a great story about this, okay? So I got in this business during the Great Recession, okay? When I was selling RVs, when I first started selling RVs, there was big negative signs in front of every deal during the recession. Huge. Bought my Super Duty Imagine and yeah, I mean, if you're liking the Imagine LE, go ahead, Zach. I mean, there's no big deal about it. Here's the problem about your Super Duty and your MLE. They're just going to lose value. You know, to your truck and your trailer are worth more today than they will be tomorrow. They're going to be worth more tomorrow than they are going to be in a month. You're constantly, the value of your Super Duty and the value of your Magic keep going down. So if you haven't found anything that you love more than your current trailer and your money, hang on to it. That's why I always tell guys that whenever they get mad because people walk away when we can make a deal with them, I'm like, guys, there's two things about people with trades. Number one is they have to find something that they absolutely love more than their current RV and their money because their payment's going up. If they, you know, the magical fairy dust crap we did during COVID where we could swap payments and stuff, that's never going to happen again. That was a once in a generation thing to happen. So that's what I'm saying. Like, when people were buying RVs at 17% interest back in 2009 and 10, they were buying them for way back of invoice. So when those people refinanced and then came in and traded up in 2014, 15, and 16, they actually had some positive value in their trade. You know, they owed like 35 and it was really worth wholesale 40. You know, it didn't hold its value. That's not what it was. It was because they bought it at a good price and they refinanced it when the rates went down. They started catching up. What I mean by that is they took a 15-year loan at 17%, but when they were in refinance, they took like a 7 to 10-year loan at 5.99. Okay. So they were ahead of the game. So by the time they refinanced and by the time they traded in, most of the time we didn't need any money out of pocket. They were not what we call upside down. The value of their unit was not less than what they owed. That will never happen again either. But if you buy now and refinance later, you're going to be in a better position when you're ready to upgrade than you will if you wait for interest rates to drop. So I've watched a bunch of people that have a 3, 4, or 5% loan on their fifth wheel, and they took a 20-year term and they buried about $10,000 of money from their last trade or $15,000 from their trade. They never catch up. But again, if you love the new unit more than you love the current one and your money, you'll do it. And that's not a problem. There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually a very positive thing. That's how you should do it. Because the reality is money is fake anyway. It's all fugazi. It's all fake. It's all bullcrap. It's all baloney. I mean, if the earth crashed today, all the digital world crashed today, Bitcoin ain't gonna be nothing. Platinum and silver are gonna be worth what we can to melt it down and make it into something. And money is gonna be good for fire starters. I mean, that's the reality of the world. So instead of trading food and clothing, we're trading pieces of paper with people's pictures on it. I mean, that's the reality of it. So why not let the bank take the hit? Because technically, guys, I know people don't understand this. I tried explaining this the other day to somebody, okay? Yeah, it is right. It is a cheap lake house. Very good, Law Dog. The one thing I tried to explain to a guy the other day. I go, because I had this lady that was crying the other day over Instagram. No, it was Messenger. I was talking to her over Messenger, and she was crying because she didn't have a way out of the motorhome that she bought. She bought a motorhome back in 2018. She had 4 wonderful years traveling across the country with her husband. Her husband passed away. Unfortunately, things occurred where food prices and her insurance and medications and stuff like that, she had a choice, either make the motorhome payment or buy groceries. Okay. And she doesn't, or she could go back to work, which she didn't want to do. She was enjoying retirement. And I said, hey, can I ask you, and her name's Gwendolyn. I say, hey, Gwendolyn. She goes, what? I go, I know you're upset. I know that your old school way of thinking, the way you were taught, is you pay your bills, you pay your bills, you pay your bills. She says, yeah. I said, okay. Are you ever going to buy another RV, or are you just done? She goes, well, if I'm going to RV ever again, I'd rather rent. Perfect. I said, you know what the good news about you financing the RV is? She says, what? You can just go give it back to the bank. Yeah, I'll hurt your credit rating. She goes, okay. But what are you going to buy on credit? Car loans will still give you a car loan if you need a car. If you need a cosigner, I'm pretty sure you have a kid that can cosign. I said, that's the beautiful part of not owning something in cash. I said, if you had the title of that thing, you would get desperate to sell it for as little money. You would probably get taken advantage of. In this case, since you financed the majority of the motorhome, you only put 10% down. She goes, yeah, just call the bank. Tell them, hey, I can't afford the motorhome anymore. Can you come pick it up? The bank takes the risk. Yeah. The bank, see, this is why I keep telling folks, when you pay cash for an RV, you're just putting all the money inside a barrel and lighting it on fire. That's what you're doing. I mean, you can argue with me about all you want. You're throwing money away. If you're not financing anything, a car, a boat. Now, I'm not talking about cheap boats that are like $5,000. I'm talking about like $100,000 boat, a $50,000 car. The richest people in the world never pay cash for anything. It goes on a credit card or it goes on a loan. And if you want proof, I've sold, let's see, probably at least over 100 celebrities in RV in my 15 years. I don't remember the exact number. I'd have to go over it. Not one of them paid cash. Every one of them financed it. Even though every one of them could walk into a bank and get a cashier's check, every one of them put it on credit. Because rich people put things on credit, poor people buy things in cash. That's what I was taught. Well, I'm not sick, but thank you. I'm just tired. Yeah, exactly. Class Bs are a little different. Class Bs are not motorhomes. Class Bs are not RVs, realistically. Class Bs, the van life is a big, you want to talk about the biggest lie in the RV industry is the van life. Let me give you guys a story. Now, I'm not going to out this person because they had a lot of trust in me. So I'm not going to out them and tell them their name, or give you any hints of who it is. But there is a large van life content creator that doesn't even sleep in their own van. When the cameras quit and they turn off the camera, they get out of their van and they drive to a Holiday Inn or a Hampton Inn or Hilton Hotel, and they sleep in the Hilton Hotel. The van life is so full of crap. Now, there are a few, very small amount of van life people that actually live in their rig. But the super majority of them, according to this person who is a large content creator, it's all a fugazi, just like money. It's all bull crap. It's all for likes, views, and ad revenue. Okay? The van life is the biggest lie. Class B motorhomes are built with the hotel in mind. Let me give you a good example. Okay? My grandfather owned a Road Trek motorhome, a Road Trek Class B. It was on a Chevy. Okay? Had a bathroom, a bed, a refrigerator. They owned it. My grandmother and my grandfather owned it for 13 years, 12 or 13 years. They slept in that bed 3 nights in 12 years. But they used the bathroom a lot. They used the kitchen a lot. They used all the storage a lot. What they would do is they'd take cross-country trips to antique shows. They did their own little show. And it was easy for both of them to drive. And if they both needed a bathroom, or they wanted to go do a pit stop and stay at a campground, or stay at a mountain little area and park, they could park it, put out the awning, because they had a power awning on it, set up the lunch table, grab the food out of the refrigerator, so they didn't need ice chests. This is the convenience of a Class B motorhome. You don't need an ice chest. They didn't have to go find some public bathroom. So every stop they made, it was 10-minute setup, 10-minute collapse down. They always had shade. They always had a generator for air conditioning if it was hot outside. They always had a furnace for heat if it was too cold. That's the van life. The real van life is you get in a van and you drive around and there's the Holiday Inn, but you're traveling across country. And you go, hey, look, there's Missoula, Montana, and the big Blackfoot River. Turn around. Let's go spend the day over there. Boom. All right, we're done. And we're going to drive back to the hotel. That's the van life. No, hey, Live Free and Van Venture, you're one of the very few people, okay? You are extremely small percentage of the van life content creators. The super majority of them, it's all a lie. It's all bullcrap. Okay? I had a very, very candid conversation because this particular creator is part of a large group of people that are also content creators that also tell the same lie. It's hard to live in a van, and you can attest to this, Live Free and Van Venture. It is the hardest thing to do is live in a van. The bathrooms are not very big. The beds are not very comfortable. You don't have a lot of storage. Hard to live full-time in a van. It's a great thought, except for if you can't afford things. So, Class C motorhomes are easier to live in because they have more storage, more cargo capacity, more comfortable area. Truck campers are worse to a point. At least you have the truck to move around. But yes, drag a cargo trailer. There you go. All right, I got 5 more minutes. Rock and roll. Class B pluses are different. They are a Class C. Okay, but the difference is when you get to the Mercedes or the Ford Transit, which are your Class B pluses, they do not have the cargo capacity of a Class C. And the reason why is because Mercedes-Benz and Ford Transit will not let a company called MoreRide extend the chassis. They won't let them modify the chassis without voiding the warranty. Now, if you do an E350, an E350, an E450, or a Chevy platform, Ford and Chevy give MoreRide permission to extend and modify the chassis to fit the manufacturer's needs. Mercedes doesn't. So when they put that box on, if you actually go read the sticker of the weight and everything, there are a couple of Mercedes B pluses that once you put 2 passengers and fill up the diesel fuel tank, you're overweight. So one of the problems about B pluses is people think, oh, I'm just going to get all this great gas mileage. You don't. You might get 2 to 3 gallons more per mile than you do in a Ford gas or a Chevy gas Class C. Because weight. You're underpowered with a smaller 6-cylinder diesel motor. And then you also are overweight, which makes that Class C work harder. Yeah, I would recommend it. I would get a really good Class C motorhome. Now, look, there are people that buy Mercedes diesels because they're environmentally conscious. There are guys who just say, I'll never have a gas motor again, diesel only. Okay, that's all about ego or about a bad experience. Nothing wrong with that. But you have to be educated on what's going on so that way you understand if I go buy the Mercedes, I have to go weigh myself. And I have to know where I am when I load up. I can't overload the chassis because you're just going to stress that Mercedes transmission all the way to hell. I'm thinking about that, Kevin. I actually have been thinking about that, but a lot of people don't want to come on the podcast. A lot of people like their privacy. They'll have private conversations with me, but they won't come on camera. The older micro minis are nice. I don't know about the newer ones, but some of the older micro minis are really nice. I have one on the lot I work at, so yeah. Yeah, they're okay. They're not the greatest, but they're okay. Winnebago towables is not nearly what Winnebago Motorhomes is, or even was. They're run by 2 different factions of people. So even though it has the Winnebago stamp on it, it's really a Sunnybrook. The best platform to sell a camper van probably right now is Facebook Marketplace if you're under $30,000. If you're over 30 grand, RV Trader. Oh, I know, Jeff. Trust me. I know. Especially the transmission. It's such a pain in the ass. Excuse my language, but it really is. All right, we got about a minute left. Any other questions? We got a minute left before I gotta call it a night. Well, thank you guys for all the super chats, super thanks. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for all the comments. Again, thank you for the support. Hopefully the information I give you is a very positive experience, and also at the same time makes you understand that it ain't all sunshine and rainbows, okay? You guys enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next week, Saturday, 6 p.m. Pacific time. You can't go wrong with a Rockwood or a Flagstaff fifth wheel. They're both the same product. You can't go wrong with that. Okay? Anyway, guys, till next time, see you next week, 6 p.m. Pacific time, next Saturday.